This meeting is being recorded. Does it sound for you as well? The message? You hear it?
Yep, yep, yep.
Yes, and we had to agree.
It's good. It's good. It has to play for everyone, right? Because if not, you're being recorded. We don't know, but it's just recording for my own self-criticism. So what we're going to do today, we are going to see a few basic concepts. I'm going to hide you guys. Hi, Leticia. I see my Argentinian friend is arriving at 9:06 as I predicted. Hola, Leticia. So today I just wanted to talk first about my intentions with this course, which I have already explained regarding people that live in Paris and what we're going to do after we are free again. But I am also interested in, on a deeper level, in understanding what's the point in a way of studying art, of studying our history. I've been thinking a lot about this since all this COVID thing started, and from what I have studied and what I have read, it's a sort of it has a spiritual component. I'm like absolute atheist, but there is something unexplained and unexplainable about art that does us good, that it's gives us a sort of comfort. I want to start, this is like, I feel very corny now, with a phrase of a medieval scholar called Hugo de Saint-Victor. He lived in Paris. And he said that the aesthetic pleasure comes from the soul recognizing in the matter the harmony of its own structure. So it has to do with something that we see reflected in this mysterious, ambiguous objects that are the artifacts, the productions of the arts. I am not interested in the question of what is art or when is art, or why this is art and this other thing isn't. In fact, that's a very contemporary question. We're going to see the ancient art, medieval art, modern art, but we're not going to dip into the contemporary. However, it is important to say that the concept of art, of artwork, is something that was born in modern times. Before modern times, this is the ending of 15th century. Before modern times, art was intertwined with religion, and you couldn't really distinguish as something that's supposed to exist for aesthetic pleasure, right? We have the Renaissance, and we have all these painters, and we have all these bourgeois and popes and powerful people that start to command artworks. That's the moment the modern art, the modern artist, the concept of artist was born. Before that, it was a collective production. Sometimes we have the names of the people that made this artworks, sometimes not. And especially in the beginning, when we talk about the great civilizations, Egyptians, Babylonians, even the Greeks, we are at a time where these are ritualistic religious objects. So in the beginning, we'll be sharing sort of a study field, not only with historians, but with archaeologists, anthropologists. So I'm interested in the origins of art and its development, because there are points that we have in common that they're really, they connect with an essence of humanity. I have studied aesthetics. It's a branch of philosophy that studies art, and I have been reading a lot about the concept of art. I think I have it. Yes, I was going to put it for you here on the share screen. You're going to tell me, do you see this? It's a PDF. Maybe I have to click on
Yeah.
shares. You see it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, great. So this is a text by Paul Valéry. He's a very important French writer. And if you look here below, I just put in it here if somebody wants to screenshot it, whatever. But Paul Valéry wrote this book about Leonardo's method. But what's important here, it's not the specific thing, whatever he said about Leonardo da Vinci. It's the thing that he said that we see with our intellect more than with our eyes. And it is the artist, in fact, the one that helps us see more, to see things that are already there, but that we ignored because we see with words, we see with an intellect. Let me try to read this more slowly. I speak too fast. Most people see with their intellects much more often than with their eyes. Instead of colored spaces, they become aware of concepts. Something whitish, cubical, rect, its planes broken by the sparkle of glass, is immediately a house for them, the house, a complex idea, a combination of abstract qualities. If they change position, the movement of the rows of windows, the translation of surfaces which continuously alters essential perceptions, all this escapes them, for the concept remains the same. They perceive with the dictionary rather than with the retina. And here on the side, this is a note by Paul Valéry himself. He says, this is why artists are useful. They preserve the subtlety and instability of sensory impressions. A modern artist has to exhaust 2/3 of his time trying to see what is visible, and above all, trying not to see what is invisible. Then he continues, I really like this quote, a work of art should always teach us that we have not seen what we see. So I really like this comment on art allowing us to see more of what we already see, but we were ignoring. It's like waking up some sort of sensitivity that is hidden for us, and that artists help come forward. So I will go back to our map. I don't know if you have any questions or comments. I'm just building this up as we go, but we'll see images. This is what I want to do in the course. I think it's a nice thing to do. You can have various levels of understanding, and there might be things you like more than others, but what interests me is to show you different things that might wake up an interest in you. You might want to do your own research or whatever. So yeah, I will go through the different concepts of art as we go with the images. But what else I wanted to say? Yes, well, mostly it's a history of sensitivity, of emotion. Deleuze, the French philosopher, has called art a block of sensations. So it puts a symbol to an intuition, it connects us in a deeper level than just an intellectual level. So for a start, just showing you the map so that we understand where we're coming from. Our art history will start here in Mesopotamia, this region of Asia where we have the two big rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. This is the modern day Iraq, and historians consider this the beginning of history because it's the beginning of writing. I know that we had a lot of activity in other places in the world. I regret that I have really no knowledge about Chinese, Japanese, Oriental arts, but the Latin civilization was born in the Mediterranean, and the Assyrian, the Sumerians, the Phoenicians were the ones that started the cuneiform writing. So this is the birth of civilization is in the Mesopotamic area, according to the archaeologists. So we're going to see a bit about these civilizations, which are called, well, in fact, we have different names, but we have 4 main civilizations. However, I don't think it's essential to know exactly the names of each one, but to see the images that will help you. I'm sorry, I'm trying to focus on this. How do I hide the zoom? Okay, yes. To look at the images, to see the evolution, it's going to be easier to understand. So this is another thing about my method. I don't do PowerPoints. I find them boring and too structured. So I'm trying to use some resources that are new. For example, the Google Arts and Culture project that allows you to make your own galleries online. I think it's more interesting. But for a start, just wanted to show you a little bit of this Assyrian art. In fact, this is not very old, but just so you see what I'm talking about when I talk about the Mesopotamia. This is the cuneiform writing. In fact, this is a list of stars. You see that here we're not really in the realm of art. You might consider it to be a tool or an artifact, but this is something that you need to see because it allows you to understand where we come from, right? In the beginning, there was a ritual. So most of the objects that you will find, the most ancient ones, have to do with rituals. I was going to show you first the Babylonian city, but now I remember that we should start with the smaller objects, which are in fact related to fertility rituals. Sorry. Up. Here they are. I really like this one. I also like showing cute images, not only art. I mean, they're proper artifacts, you know, three millennia ago, but they're also cute. So I like to show that as well. This is a figurine, a bull or a calf from Uruk. I'm sorry. Uruk is one of the main cities of the ancient Iraq, and we have these figurines that are, in a way, a testimony to the daily life of the people, and also a ritual. They're part of a desire for good luck, the desire for prosperity. The artistic production, as I have already said, it's always entwined with the ritual dimension of life. And the rituals, in the beginning, they're the most simple. It's just finding food and praying for rain. We have these rituals that are also funerary rituals and are the ones that were preserved on time, because of course funerary objects are buried. This is one little figurine, but we have a lot of examples regarding Mesopotamia. In fact, it's not the most interesting for me. We're going to see Egypt in a while. That's why I'm going a bit fast over this. But this is another one from the same area that shows, in fact, the day-to-day life of the people in Ur. This is in the British Museum. It has 3 millennia of age. I'm trying to show this as best as I can, but I think I have it here. Yes, here is in the museum, so that you see in contexts, which are the artifacts that were found in Ur. Musical instruments, jewelry. This is a headdress that was rebuilt. In fact, was rebuilt based on this foundings in a tomb. And this is another one of the resources that I want to use to show you the rooms of the great museums that are now available on Street View, so that you see how art is shown. However, I'm just going to leave Ur alone because I wanted to go to Egypt. So this is where our proper class will start, but I just thought it was important to mention this civilization, because it's supposed to be the first one. So we're going to Egypt. We're going back to our map so that we understand as well the relation between the establishment of human groups and climate. We have the delta of the Nile, and it's a very, very fertile zone that was occupied for ages, but where the dynasties, the great dynasties of Egyptian pharaohs were born around 4,000 years before Christ. So we're going to see here how deep it is, the link between religion and daily life. We found archaeologists found a lot of tombs. The pyramids were in fact tombs, and the Egyptians had a very, very sophisticated funerary cult. The paintings of ancient Egypt have arrived to us also thanks to the climate. Burial sites were put in the desert areas, so that will be better conserved. This is a procession of Nubians, in fact, of a civilization that's not Egyptian, that came bearing gifts, that is present in the tomb of a pharaoh. It is very important to say that the art in ancient Egypt is mostly dedicated to the tombs, and in the tombs, all the elements that the deceased will need for the afterlife have to be present. This is a key notion. The afterlife in ancient Egypt was something that was certain, so the preparation for the afterlife was crucial, and it depended as well on the status of the deceased. There were a very, very large number of rituals. I was going to show you first the tomb of Nebamun. Sorry, here it is. This is in the British Museum. I already did a video about this in Spanish, but this is interesting because it's a tomb that was very well conserved near the city of Tebas. And it represents a banquet, a feast. The person that was buried, in fact, he wasn't even a pharaoh, he was a scribe. He was a person that, sort of an accountant, a bureaucratic supervisor, but he was highly placed politically speaking. So what we see here in this tomb is the depiction of a feast, because it also has to do with the life that they wanted to have in the afterlife. So we see that the representation of the body is very flat. In fact, the perspective in Egyptian art is frontal. It's not like the proper perspective that we know nowadays. It has deepness, so there's no depth. However, it is very richly colored. It was tempera, that was pigments mixed with egg. That was the technique used in ancient Egypt. We have this representation in bands, which is, it looks almost like a comic book, because they didn't have everything is represented at the same time. It's simultaneous. This is supposed to be a banquet in the afterlife with these women that are wearing cones of beeswax over their heads. They are perfumed cones. They have heavy makeup on. I will talk about this in a second. We have different dignitaries, different people that are assisting to this party, this banquet. They are playing instruments here, and they're dancing. Also, the wine here. The thing is, you have to keep everything. You have to have everything that you need for the afterlife. So here we have a scene with cattle, because they are supposed to provide the meat and the milk for the deceased in the afterlife. This is a flock of hens. I cannot go any closer. I'm not sure where I put this. I have the proper painting somewhere else. And this is a deceased who is overseeing the whole thing. I'm going to show you another part of the tomb. Oh, there you have the artifacts that were found at the tombs. Here is the account, in fact, another representation of Nebamun that's surveying the harvest. And let me see if I can find you the garden. This is a very famous tomb because it belonged to a known pharaoh, let's say, and it allowed us to have an exceptional glimpse into the daily life of an Egyptian, of course, a high-placed state functionary, but however, a very in-depth look, we might say. This is Nebamun fishing, because he's supposed to be as well represented hunting, fishing, because it's the activity that he will do in the afterlife. He needs to eat. So here we have him fishing, surrounded by animals. Here I have a better picture. This is a detail of the scene. Here's Nebamun between lotus and papyrus flowers, and you see here the cat. He's represented in great detail. So he was Nebamun will have his cat in the afterlife. Sometimes even the pets were buried with the owner. Right now I'm just talking about the tomb of this person, which was a functionary. He was an accountant, but for the case of Pharaoh, sometimes even the servants will be killed and buried with the Pharaoh. So this is more or less what I wanted to show you about this specific tomb. I'm going to try to go a bit slower. I'm sorry, it's first class in a long time and I get nervous. But if anybody has questions or comments, I am available to answer whatever questions you might have or whatever extra details you might need. Let's go on.
There is one question in the chat asked by...
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't see it. Yes, the thing is that it hard for me to see when I hide. Okay, chat. Oh. Most of the time there is one Egyptian section in museums. Yeah, in fact, it depends on the times, because the Egyptian art, the ancient Egyptian art, which is from 3000 before Christ to the Roman period, which is about 400 years before Christ, they are organized in different periods. You have the Old Empire, you have different dynasties, and then you have the intermediate period, and then you have the New Empire, and then you have the Ptolemaic period, which is in fact the moment where the Greeks had influenced Egyptian culture, but it's organized by time, not really by style. In fact, we will see a bit of medieval Egyptian art later, but what you see as Egyptian, in fact, it's a very pre-established periodization that was established by the archaeologists in the 18th and 19th century. So it's quite static. It's like you really cannot contest it or move it, because it's been set up that way. But yeah, it's arbitrary. So depending on the rituals, yes, we will see the different rituals, because in fact, with time, the rituals will change. Let me close this. Thank you for the question. Very good question. Hi, Amanda. It's coming in. Let me get back to my hide floating meeting controls. So here I am. So this is important. This is a page from the Book of the Dead. In fact, the most famous ritual of Egyptian religion is mummification. Together with this cult of the afterlife, well, you have to have food, fun. You have to have, I don't know, your loved ones with you. The body has to be there as well, well preserved. So the mummification process is supposed to conserve the body so that the soul can recognize the body and go back in. The Egyptians have a concept of the body being divided in the Ba and the Ka. Ka is the life breath, the breath of life of the soul that's supposed to go out of you when you die. And the Ba is your personality, of who you are. It stays in the body. But the Ka, this energy of life, it comes out of the body when you die, and you have to help the Ka get back into you. So according to the Book of the Dead, your heart will be weighed on a scale in front of the gods, and you will be judged as to be accepted or not in the afterlife. So the mummification process is not only a process that's destined to conserve the body, but also to help the deceased go through the different stages of arriving in the afterlife. The waking of the heart is one of the most important rituals that's represented. Sometimes when the mummification process was ongoing, different spells were recited at the same time. You see here the hieroglyphics. They all contain different spells to say according to the moment of the mummification, because there was one spell to say when the heart was embalmed and the different parts were being taken away or put in canopies. The canopies are the vessels where the organs are conserved. So it was a very complex ritual. And we are lucky to have the many pages of the Book of the Dead written in the papyrus. trying to get closer. Yes, has very good resolution. We have the different gods. Here is Osiris. He's the main god. And then we have different gods of the Egyptian pantheon. Anubis, for example, he's present 2 times. So we have this simultaneous development. You see that everything happens at the same time, right? First, you have him coming over with a disease, and then he's measuring the hearts on the scale, and they are repeated many times because there is the temporality is always the same. It's always happening at the same time. So what I really like, in fact, to look at are the amulets that are going to be conserved with the body. The body is covered in amulets. It depends on the status of the person that's being buried, of course. Most of the Egyptians, the laymen, were not embalmed, but they were buried with personal objects, with the cosmetics. This is very interesting because the cosmetics are also a part of the ritual of a connection with the sacred. And I wanted to show you these models, which are made of wood and paper, and these are models that were put in the tombs to accompany the person who died and to also bring him food and different goods. This is a bread making factory, and I think that it's also a brewery. So you see here, the procedure is not lost. They put this model so the person would have bread and beer in the afterlife. I'm going back. I have trouble seeing the chat, so if anybody sends me a question on chat, just let me know. Say, oh, sent a question, so that I go on and check. Oh, this is the model of the brewery as well. So the tombs allow us to have catch a glimpse of the daily life in ancient Egypt. They were very well preserved, also thanks to the weather conditions. This is amazing. It's like a little house with a scribe and overseer. In fact, these are the people that were counting the grains, the harvest, that were taking care of this of commerce, right? So you have the scribe that's seated with his tablet, and the overseer of the grains. I find it very endearing. Let me see if I have another model over here. No, I don't think so. Going back to the cosmetics, there are a lot of palettes that were found. This is a palette in the shape of a fish, a very simple one. The makeup was also a way of getting closer to God. The use, for example, of kohl liner, the black eyeliner that's still worn until this day. It was born in the times of the ancient Egyptians. It was also worn in ancient Iraq, Persia, and Mesopotamia. Here you have a tube of kohl, which finally it looks like modern mascara almost. It was a pigment. It is a pigment that is put in the eyes to protect from the sun, to improve the health of the eyes, and also to protect against the evil eye. So it's a ritual that still exists to our day. So yeah, I was going to show you some other amulets that I have here. And here in the British Museum, you see all the different plates for for the powders, the different pigments that were going to be used for creating cosmetics. They have different shapes of different animals. This is an object that was very, very frequent, frequently used in Egyptian society. You have different elements for the combing of the hair, different amulets, necklaces. In general, the burials were done with the cosmetics and the jewelry. That's why they were found as well in this tombs. More palettes. I really enjoy looking at this ancient cosmetics there and jewelry. I have here it is. Sorry for switching, but sometimes it is hard to find. Here are scarab amulets that were buried with the bodies. You see there are plenty. Some of them are ceramic. Some of them are precious stones. In fact, the scarab was linked with resurrection. It was a symbol of life. You also have seals here. You see the negative space, I mean the carving of the seals. You're supposed to dip this in ink and use it as a seal, which was very common in ancient Egypt. Oh, this is beautiful, like this. Maybe it's amethyst, something of the sort. This one has hieroglyphics on it. Let's see what other things we found. This is another one. Oh, this one I really like because it's a scarab that has a spell in it, requesting the heart not to testify against the owner during the weighing of the heart. So the mummies will be covered, or the body will have many amulets put on top of it with different spells, and this is one, so the soul does not forget to recite the spell during the ceremony, the metaphorical ceremony of the weighing of the heart. Let me see if I can show you a bit of other amulets. This is another scarab that's called heart scarab because it's supposed to contain the same type of spell. Very beautiful, mounted in gold. In fact, the gold wasn't something ostentatious, but religious. This time has to do with the sun. Its brightness relates to the sun, and the sun was, of course, one of the many divinities in the ancient Egyptian religion. Here we have a necklace with different representations of different gods and different amulets, of course. This is Egyptian as well. Let me see if I put, oh, and this one looks like the god Horus, the falcon, but is in fact from Crete. This is from Greece. So you see that there were interactions between Greek and Egyptian cultures. Let me get back to Egypt because I want to show you a few more things. Oh, the mummies. I'm sorry. Yes, I was like, I'm forgetting something. And what was it? The mummies. The mummies, in fact, are here. No, here. The British Museum is the best for mummies. There are also mummies in Louvre and Germany, but I really like the display in the British Museum. You see one of the many mummies found by the British. And in fact, now that we were talking about amulets, you see here the diagram of the positioning of the amulets. They are supposed to be positioned over specific parts of the body. This is small ceramic amulets that I put over the body before putting the bandages. Here's a small hippo. The logo of my courses is a small hippo, and in fact, the hippo is a dangerous animal, even if we see that they're very cute. But in truth, they're dangerous animals. So it's also a religious purpose to create the figure of a hippo as to keep him and control him, right? As to tame him and be protected from the violence of nature, of the hippos themselves, who are in fact very violent animals.
What's the material?
Going back to I'm sorry, I think
What
somebody's.
is the material that they used for the hippo and the amulets? Is it stone?
The amulet, sorry, could you repeat that?
What is the material they used for the amulets and the hippo? Is it stone?
No, ceramic.
Okay.
Ceramic. Yes, it's a very specific type of ceramic that's called faience, and I will show you in a bit the different uses of this type of ceramic. But it's a type of ceramic that when it's cooked, it becomes very turquoise. It has a very distinctive color. So here's the sarcophagus containing the mummies. There are different types of sarcophagus. Some of them are standing, some of them are designed more in a box-like type of casket. This one are magnificent wooden coffin of peasant. Good. Okay, so I can go from the British Museum room to the artwork in itself. Can you see the details? You have very intricate details. The hieroglyphics are written in a vertical manner, and they contain as well different spells to protect the soul of the deceased. The mask of the mummy is generic, but over time it will start having more and more details. We'll see in a bit that in the Roman times there were almost like a portrait.
Why the little horns or
Horns.
at the top, at the head?
Let me see. No, I think
No?
it's just,
What is it?
yes, it's just damaged. Yeah.
Ah, right. Okay.
But they look like horns from afar. Let me show you another type of funerary masks here. This is gilded, so this is covered in gold. But you see that no, they don't have horns. Sometimes they have a snake, a small snake on the front, which is an attribute that only pharaohs are allowed to wear. Let me see if I found, no, this one not. This is all the image collection that I have for the different classes. So I'm going all the way back to try and find the funeral, the mummy that I wanted to show you, but I don't think I'm going to find it. Here for Carola that asked about this ceramic. This is the same type of material used for the amulets.
Such a beautiful color.
Yes, I love it. It's amazing. So where were we? Oh, here's another tiny one that I really like. I think this one is made of hard stone. And you see that it has this metallic part so as to be put in a necklace or be hanged. So regarding the mummies, we have this generic type of masks, but over time you will see that they become more and more realistic until the times of the Romans. So we going forward many centuries on, but this is still in Egypt. And this is a portrait that was part of the mummies. It was going to be put right over the top of the coffin, a depiction of the deceased that was very, very lifelike, very naturalistic. And you see that the person is also dressed in their best gowns and with the jewelry, because if you're going to the afterlife, you want to take your jewelry with you. You want to look good. So everyone has their jewelry on. This paint is not tempera. This is encaustic, which is in fact pigment mixed with beeswax. So the texture is really rich. It's really dense. Let me show you some other more. I have them all here in the gallery. They are called the mummies of Al-Fayoum because, in fact, when the Romans conquered Egypt, the province of Egypt became known as Al-Fayoum. This is how the mummies from the Roman times, 300 years before Christ, this is late Egypt, but still Egypt. They have the mummy with all these drawings relating to the Egyptian religion, but the way of depicting the deceased is absolutely Roman. The Romans were the ones that developed the portrait, and when they conquered Egypt, they influenced the way of life, but they didn't change the funerary rituals. Of course, the Romans didn't embalm, didn't mummify their dead, but the Egyptians, they combined, they kept on maintaining their traditions. You see here the different attributes, the lotus flowers that are also linked to resurrection. Osiris, the god of the dead, he's surrounded by serpents. And here below, you see the fingers and toes of the deceased. So it's becoming, the painting is becoming more and more lifelike, and you see that even the size of the mummy is smaller because it's been made to fit the original corpulence of the person that was in there. Let me show you a bit. Oh, some others. This one I really like because you can see the technique. You see the wax. It's very, very dense. So there is a lot of texture. It was in fact it wasn't painted on. In fact, it was carved on. So you see that the wax was being pulled away carefully before it dried, so the portrait could be done. He's wearing a Roman tunic. He's dressed in the Roman style. We have here a different type with the bandages, the fibers that are visible. No drawings here, but only the face of this young man wearing this crown of bay leaves. It represents glory in Roman times as well. So it's a synchronous synchronicity of religions, we might say, because we have the Roman customs. I don't even know if the person believed in Egyptian religion at the time. Maybe the Egyptians at the time, they were Romanized. They believed in the pagan gods of the Romans, but the tradition was so strong that they kept mummifying the bodies in the traditional style. There is a similar one here. Let me see if I can zoom in.
I got a question. Is there anything special? I mean, the people who did the mummification, were they mummified themselves, or did they have some special position? The ones who did this complex mummification and preparing the body, or it was like anyone could do it?
It depends on the money, mostly on the status in society. And with time, it became cheaper and more people could do it. In the beginning, there were only the pharaohs.
Well, I mean, the people who did, not the ones who were mummified, but those who did the mummification of other people, were they special, or
No,
like
no,
in preparing other people? Okay, it was just a service.
People that were formed in this, of course, they were specialists, but they didn't have any sacred role in society. They didn't have any special position.
Okay.
They were just people who worked as embalmers, and as time went by, it became more common and less related to the sacred, because sometimes in the ancient times, you also had a priest participate in the ceremony. So the embalmers themselves, no, they were not priests. Priests were convoked to be present in the mummification process. There are here, yes, I like this one. This is a panel. Only the panel was found, but the jewelry was sort of it's three-dimensional in this case, so it becomes more and more lifelike and closer to the real looks of the person. We have a lot of different portraits. I'm not going to show them all to you, but just so you can compare. This is from 1,000 years before. Let me see if I can zoom in. Very, very richly decorated. In time, the hieroglyphs and the different depiction of processions and ritual that start to vanish. I really like the earlier works. This is a beard. Looks sometimes like a snake, but it's a beard. And this person, doesn't have the serpent. I'm going to find it for you. Go to my favorites. Oh, this is one of the amulets that we saw in the British Museum, made of faience as well. It's broken. You have these holes in here. In fact, you would put strings or strands so they can be sewn into the mummy's bandages. And I was going to show you another mummy. Yes. But this is not a pharaoh, not still. You can recognize because they wear a snake on their head, and here you can see them. Osiris, the god of the dead, and he's wearing a wareus, which is in fact a standing cobra on his head. And that means that he is a sacred being that can dominate the serpents. And most of the pharaohs are represented with that as well. This is a lotus flower. Lotus flower is also related with a resurrection. I think I already mentioned that. Now we go back. Okay. So for architecture, I don't think we're going to see anything today, but I'm also interested in what you're interested in. I don't know if you have any specific periods or things that you like. I'm open to any suggestions. I'd like to know my students a bit so that I can show them things that are interesting to them. So any comments are welcome. Okay, so we're going to go back to our map. I'm going to try and take a look at the chat. Oh, see, 3 things on chat and I missed them. Oh, hi, Miriam. One of the gods is green. Oh, you caught that. We were looking at Osiris, and in fact, Osiris, the god of the dead, is green because he's dead. He's rotting. Bye, Leticia. Okay. So we're going back to our map just for context. Do we know how ceramics were cooked? We do know, but I don't. They were cooked in an oven. Ceramics is in fact the most ancient art of all. You have the cave paintings, and then you have ceramics. Most civilizations have had ceramic production, so I don't really know how they were cooked, but yeah, I'm sure there's material on that. So going back to our map, we have Egypt, and then we have the Mediterranean basin, and we're going to go over to Greece, which is another one of the places where the great civilizations were born. In fact, I have a couple of marks in the map, because what we see as Greece today, in fact, also comprised a part of Turkey. We have what we call Minor Asia, which is in fact the peninsula of Anatolia, which is Turkey today. And Greece was not only conformed by the peninsula of the Attica and the Peloponnesus and the islands, but also by the Jonia, which is the western coast of Turkey. Here I have this spot because it's where the mythical city of Troy is supposed to have been situated at. So I marked it here. And we also have Crete, which is in fact the place where the Minoan civilization was born, which is a pre-Hellenistic, a pre-Hellenic civilization. So it's more ancient than the Greeks. The Minoans were only located in the island of Crete. We're going to see a bit of their art right away. I'm going to close this because we already saw this. Oh, on another thing, the type of models that we've seen in Egyptian tombs, they were also used in America. This is from Mexico. So just so you know that there are a lot of coincidence between the Mediterranean religions and the pre-Columbian American religions. This is a ball game from Mexico. I have given a couple of conferences in pre-Columbian art, so I'm going to show you a little bit, but I'm trying to not go too far away so it's not confusing. However, I'm just trying to show you a wide panorama of the ancient civilizations. So let's go back to where we were. I'm closing this. We have more mummies here. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to show you. Oh, this one is interesting because you see exactly how the body was buried. Well, we know what a mummy is. Quite creepy. The coffins were decorated as well, painted. The British Museum has the greatest wealth in mummies. Here's one that's, yes, it's almost, you can almost see the body. The different models and artifacts that were buried alongside the mummies are here as well. And these are pages of the Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead that was read during the mummification process. So let me get out of here. I'm going to check if I have any other questions on the chat. Okay. So we're going to go to Crete. In fact, this is an example of Minoan art. The main figure of the religion in ancient Crete was the bull. There's something that has to do with the taming of the natural forces. In fact, I really like Avi Barbour, who is an art historian who talks about the power of magic. And magic, it's a sort of a pre-religious state that has to do with rituals and has to do with the taming of the violent forces of nature, the taming of the fear. So the bull is one of the main symbols of religion, Minoan religion, because it's a symbol of violence and also a sacrificial animal that's going to be sacrificed in rituals to the gods. This one is a seal, Minoan seal, that it's used for signing documents for identification of objects, and it represents a man in the chariot and the horses. So we can also see the daily life of the people. This is from Mycenae, which is in fact the pre-Greek civilization in the Greek peninsula. You also have the same type of subjects, the men in horses, agricultural work. This is another.
What is it? What would they put into these vessels? Is it like alcohol?
Yes, mostly wine. Mostly wine, yes. And there's a connection between the wine and the rituals in ancient Greece as well. So this wasn't the everyday wine, but the wine that was going to be a part of the ritual. Here's another seal of a man taming a bull. This is made in stone. This is from 1600 years before Christ. I really like the jewelry from ancient Greece. I think this one is Egyptian. Yes, it's Egyptian with lizards, little lizards. They're in metal. I'm a big fan of ancient jewelry. I made a small gallery of ancient jewelry in this Google page that I can show you later. So going back to the ancient Greeks, this one is this is a ring that was found in Crete with gold and lapis lazuli. So for the ancient civilization of Crete, in fact, we have a palace that I could show you, but I'll decide to skip it so that we can move on. So this is like a very, very fast overview of our history, but I wanted to come to classical Greece. Greek art, it's divided in different periods, and we start with the archaic period. This one is Kodos. In fact, this is sort of a standard Greek sculpture of the first the archaic period of Greek art. You see that it's also very schematic. These are the curls in the hair that are represented like little balls or squares. This is it's called the archaic smile. It was called like this by the archaeologists, and it's a standard representation of a young man. He's always represented going a step forward, which is in fact something that you will also find in Egyptian statues. It's a way of indicating movement, and that was also taken by the Greeks as a method of representation. This is another kore, which means young woman, from the archaic period. Now we will see, I will start to show you how this will be evolving into a more naturalistic representation.
Was it painted upon?
Sorry?
Was it painted upon?
Was it painted upon? Yes, it was painted upon. Yes.
Do we have some sort of spectrum, from like what sort of paint was it? What color?
In fact, what I can
Pigments.
show you, for example, the main statue of Athena that was made of ivory and gold, but it's not painted. No, I haven't seen any spectrometry to find the colors, but there has been many studies by archaeologists to find the colors. Everything was in full color, and it wasn't conserved, so we cannot see that. But all the Greek statuary was colored. This is the Moschophoros, which means calf bearer. It was found in the Acropolis of Athens, but it was broken. So you see here that it's been repaired in a very, very notable manner, so that we can tell which is ancient from which is a restoration. You see, he has the same type of expression as the other statues. The hair is represented in this little curls. It's a statue made in marble. And this is a type. In fact, we will find the repetition of the same types, depending on the time that we're looking at. This is a late archaic period. Here you see fragments of the pigment. Do you see them, Vadim? I'm zooming in.
Yep. Yeah, some.
Yes, it's a bit of the red. I guess only the red pigment was conserved because it was stronger than the others, but all colors were used for this. So I wanted to show you, going back to Egypt, you see that there is this posture of stride of the one step, taking a step. This is an Egyptian sculpture, but you can see the resemblance to the Greek sculptures that we had just seen. So this is an evolution that will be quite fast for the Greek case. In fact, it will change within a century into this type of figures that are much more lifelike and imply an anatomical study. In fact, I wanted to show you one that is maybe the most famous one.
Are they still used only for ritual purposes, or
No, in fact, yes. In fact, in ancient Greece, they're used for the decoration of the temples.
only temples, or rich people who would also buy it for their houses?
No. In Greece, it's only for the temples, because in the Greek democracy, there is not such thing as the rich people, you know. In ancient
The
Greece,
ruler, are there military commanders, or?
yes, but the decoration,
Warlords?
it's not a notion. It appears with the Romans. In fact, the Romans are going to use the statues for decoration.
Even
But
this
the
disco launcher guy is in temple, from temple?
Sorry?
The athlete that has the...
Yes, the athletes are part of temples,
Okay.
of course. Yes. But in the classical period, now we're entering classical period, they are also used as monuments for commemorations, not only for rituals or temples, but also for funerary monuments. So when you see this image of a sportsman, it's also meant to be an idealized athlete that will be put, for example, in the tomb of a military chief. But it's not meant to represent a real person. It's only an ideal type of athlete. Where did I put my my Greek statues? Just bear with me for a second. Yes, I have them here below. Regarding Greek religion, in fact, we're in a polytheist religion, a pagan religion. You have the pantheon of the Greek gods, who are in fact descendant. They're sort of like a family of gods, descendants of Zeus, and that start to mix with regular people, with mortal people. So you have the demigods as well. In in Greek religion, you have different representations of all the types of gods and demigods and mythical figures, and as well the different athletes who are in fact demigods. And they're going to be copied by the Romans, who will find these statues in the sea and will copy them. This one is a copy, but I wanted to show you the one that's not the Diadumenos, but the Doryphoros. Yes, I did put it. No, I don't have it here. Anyway, it's interesting to see in Greek sculpture that the beauty models that we know today were inspired from this these sculptures. Where do I have it? I'm sorry, I don't want to lose it. Well, let's do it like this. Doryphoros. Here you have it. This one is one of the most well-known classical sculptures. It's called Doryphoros, which means the one that has the spear, the spear carrier. He was supposed to have the metal spear or spear. He was carrying his warrior, and in fact, he's a model for what will come next. The use of what we call the contrapposto. In fact, this inclination of the hips, it's an innovation that was introduced by the sculpture of this figure, who is Polykletus. And what will come next, you will see that will derive mostly from the figure of this man, which is an idealized beauty. You'll see Michelangelo and all the Renaissance painters and sculpture will be heavily influenced by this figure. In fact, this Greek sculptures will be found by the Romans, who will copy them, and they will contribute to the diffusion, to the spreading of this beauty canons. In fact, the word canon is it means a measuring rod, a measuring standard. So the symmetry of the Greek bodies will be the first beauty canon that will be. It will live for many centuries to come as an ideal of art. In fact, the word classic means the highest point of development of something. So when we talk about classical Greece, it's supposed to be the highest moment of humanity. It's the time of the philosophers, of democracy, and the time of classical art. So in a time that was the best, the art was also the best. So it's a convention. It's absolutely arbitrary, but that's what we call classical Greece. And the name itself of classic means it's an unattainable peak, the peak moment of civilization. However, it is true that art in the Greek times became very, very naturalistic. Oh, here I have the bookmark for Doryphoros. So I will finish by showing you some Hellenistic art, which is in fact the times that came after the classical period of Greece is 500 before Christ, and the 5th century. So about 450 before Christ would be the peak, the middle of the moment of classical Greece, and then it'll start to decay with the dissolution of the Greek Republic and the coming of the empire with Alexander the Great. So what we have in the times of Alexander is what is come to be known as Hellenism. Hellenism, it's a sort of generalized style that became the norm in all the Greek area of influence. In fact, Alexander the Great will conquer many other territories other than Greece. He will almost arrive into India, they say, and the Hellenistic art will be focused on war. This is a prisoner of war, for example, and the representation will be a lot more lifelike, less idealistic, and more pathetic. That is more emotional. There is the altar of Pergamon that I will show you right away. Here we have it, which is in fact post-classical. Is Hellenistic, but I really like it because, in my opinion, it's a cusp, it's a peak of the development of sculpture. Let me get there. This is an altar that was found in Turkey, in Pergamon, but it was Greek, and I wanted to show you a bit of the sculptures in the temple. This is the Pergamon Museum. In fact, in Berlin, it's called like this because it was made specifically to host this magnificent temple that was rebuilt and was entirely rebuilt in Berlin. And you see here the frieze had this battle between the gods and the giants. And here you can see that the representation is really very lifelike. The details are very precise. This is before Christ. So there is a moment 2 centuries before Christ where the humanity had already reached this type of very detailed representation. So in a way, it can be said that the main discoveries in art were already done by the Greeks. Here you see this dying soldier with a perfect anatomy, details of the hair, the eyes, the emotion, that will be hard to parallel. In fact, the Renaissance artists will make a big effort to try to get closer to this style. Here is a giant being attacked by a bull. I'm going a bit faster because we're almost done. I said this would last an hour and a half, so we're almost over for today, but I just wanted to show you the details of this amazing altar. We're going to see, here's the sandal, for example. Look at the detail in the sandal, the straps, everything's been depicted. We're going to see more Greek art next time.
Style is cool.
Thank you, and I will send you a couple of links with what we've seen today. And do you have any questions, any comments, anything that you didn't understand or that you'd like to see? Anything? No comment?
I just really enjoyed it and wanted to let you know that I found it extremely engaging today.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, absolutely very interesting. And it was easy to focus, although, with Zoom, it's not always, like, Zoom fatigue is a thing. But yeah, so I mean, it was extremely interesting to me, and
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, in
That's
fact, I tried to make it, you are like inside of my computer and sometimes I move too fast, but it's also interesting just to look around at the different stuff that we have, because it's about learning, of course, but also about learning not being static. Maybe I'm talking about something and you see another image in the bottom, and you saw it, it's like you make the connections.
Yeah.
And I hope that we see each other in Paris. Who is in Paris? Raise your hands. Everybody's in Paris. Oh, except Lorena. Sorry, Lorena, but you will come on Medium. So thank you so much for coming. I was afraid that I was going to lose you because you'd be sleepy by 10:30 already, but anyway, it was good. So thank you so much for coming. And next Thursday, I'm going to send you the link on Wednesday, I guess, or Thursday itself. If you like it, tell people. And yes, the hardest thing for me is not doing the classes themselves, but doing all the publicity